Hi everyone. A question I get often this time of year is, are Catholics allowed to celebrate Halloween? Now the answer is yes. Now Halloween is actually the celebration of All Souls Day or All Saints Day. And what we are celebrating on Halloween is actually Hallows Eve. We're celebrating the eve of All Saints Day. And this is something very common, especially in Catholic tradition, because when we have Christmas, we celebrate Christmas Eve. When we have New Year's, we celebrate New Year's Eve. And, even for the resurrection of Christ, we celebrate the Vigil Mass, which takes place on the eve of Easter. So it is very, very commonplace for us to celebrate things the day before. Now, what is Halloween? How did it even originate? What happened back in the 8th century is people who were impoverished, beggars, would actually go door to door, and they had nothing to offer anybody else. But in order to receive a soul cake, some food, a very sweet little cake, they would offer to pray for the family's loved ones and those who have already passed on. Now, this tradition continues on to the point where now we send our children door to door to collect candy. Now, a lot of people will say, this is the devil's holiday. We do not celebrate it. Now, do people worship Satan on Halloween? Yes, there are people that do that. However, it's important for us to recognize that there are people that they celebrate Easter without ever mentioning the resurrection of Christ. People celebrate Christmas without ever mentioning the birth of Christ. Halloween is also a spiritual holiday that people have adopted into a secular mindset, as well as adulterating it and bringing it so far as to be a day to worship the devil. There's something very important happening, though, on Halloween, All Hallows Eve, that we should all be mindful of. In America today, especially with the younger generation, they do not experience death, which is a good thing. But in other countries and in other types of family situations, it is very common for grandparents and great-grandparents to be in the living area of the household and passing away in their family home. In other countries, people are very exposed to death. They're very exposed to their mortality. We're not so much here. My grandparents, I did watch them pass away, but they lived in a different home. They were not in my home with me. So I didn't really fully experience the death. Our t-shirts for Tear this year actually say Momento morí, which means remember you are mortal. And that is something very important that happens over Halloween. When we are waiting for Christ to come, we are waiting for the resurrection of the body, the reuniting with the soul, because every human being is a body-soul composite. We are both. When we pass away, we lose our body. Our body stays here. So what does that have to do with Halloween? When we see children dressed up as ghosts or skeletons, things like that, we are recognizing, first off, that we're mortal. We are having a remembrance of we are going to die someday. And a lot of people get very uncomfortable with that thought. So a lot of people pull back from Halloween because they see it as something evil, but it is not. It is something very Catholic. You need to remember you are mortal. How does knowing that you are mortal and someday you are going to separate from your body make you behave today? That is something we need in the forefront of our minds. Now, when we look at, if we look at spirituality in general, we talk about heaven, we talk about hell, and one day a year on Halloween, we get very much so reminded that there is this light and dark aspect of humanity, and it is something that needs to be reflected on. A lot of times we have fun with it. We scare each other, we dress really creepy, but there is an importance to it. The first being, remember you are mortal. Second, remember that your body and soul are going to separate. Third, remember to pray for those who have passed away. Additionally, we have, if you see somebody dressed up as a superhero or a fireman or normally you dress up as a saint, but you can dress up as a baker, a cheerleader, all sorts of different things. And one of the other important aspects of that is the world is filled with saints. We have Mother Teresa that has, we could call her, Saint Teresa now, who founded this amazing on-the-ground ministry in India where the sisters that are involved with her community, they go out to the dumpsters every single morning to see if any babies are left there, because that's very traditional, and not traditional, I shouldn't call it that, but commonplace in the slums that they're working in. People have babies, they can't take care of them, they throw them in the dump. And so the sisters will actually go out, find the babies, and take them back to care for them. Mother Teresa became a saint. All of those other sisters that carry on her work beyond her death, they are not considered necessarily like a big saint, but they probably are saints, if that makes sense. So dressing up as another individual, we're celebrating all of the saints that we don't know the names of also. So yes, the short answer, yes, you can celebrate Halloween. Additionally, yes, people do worship the devil on Halloween. Is that the purpose of the tradition? Absolutely not. We're supposed to walk through this knowing we are mortal. We are, one day we are going to die. We need to have that in the front of our brain, the comprehension of, there is heaven, there is hell. What am I doing with my life now? And how do I keep the fact that death is a reality in my everyday behavior? So I hope everybody has a really wonderful Halloween and a wonderful All Hallows Eve and All Saints Day. Bye.